What is up, fight nerds and dirty gamblers? I am Erik, and this is Erik Bets Fights. Welcome to this week's episode of Mixed Martial Smarts, the show where we test your trivial knowledge of the fighters who will be appearing on this weekend's UFC card. Today's episode is for UFC 275, which will be headlined by the light heavyweight title fight between Glover Teixeira and Yuri Prochazka. I'll be coming at you with 7 questions this week. Each question will be about one of the fighters who will be appearing on UFC 275 this weekend. I'm going to do this week's episode a little bit differently, folks. Last week, I asked the questions, and then I also went through and gave you the answers. This week, I'm not going to give you the answers. I'll admit, it's a little bit of a trick. I'm trying to see if it'll work to get a little bit of engagement on the video. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you the questions. I want you to type your guesses in the comments. Obviously, some of these questions can be Googled. Some of them will be a little bit more difficult to Google than others. So certainly you can look up the answers, but I would love it if you'd use the honor system and just put your guesses in there. But even if you do look them up, I just want to see your answers to the questions. And then what I'm going to do is, if people are typing answers in the comments throughout the week, I'm going to try to go in and sort of respond to your comments. So if you got it right, I'll let you know. If you didn't get it right, I'll let you know. Maybe I'll give you a hint, that kind of thing. So yeah, it'll just be a way to... eventually, we're going to do this show live, where I will be asking the questions in a live stream, and you all will be able to go into the chat and answer the questions live as we do it. But we're just going to try something a little bit different this week. Let's go ahead and jump into question number 1. Number 1, what Syndicate MMA product, who will make her sophomore UFC appearance this weekend, has the distinction of being the first woman born in Hong Kong to fight in the UFC's octagon? That question again, what Syndicate MMA product, who will make her sophomore UFC appearance this weekend, has the distinction of being the first woman born in Hong Kong to fight in the UFC's octagon? All right, moving right along to question number 2. Which UFC 275 fighter finished UFC vet James Vick by second-round TKO in January 2021, 1 year before making his UFC debut? That question again, which UFC 275 fighter finished UFC vet James Vick by second-round TKO in January 2021, 1 year before making his UFC debut? So this fighter knocked out James Vick in the second round in a smaller promotion in January 2021, and then went on to make his UFC debut in January 2022. Who is that fighter? Moving on to question number 3. If Valentina Shevchenko defeats Taila Santos at UFC 275, she will become the first woman in UFC history to defend the same title 7 times. She is currently tied with which former women's champion at 6 title defenses each? Again, if Valentina Shevchenko defeats Taila Santos at UFC 275, she will become the first woman in UFC history to defend the same title 7 times. She is currently tied with which former women's champion at 6 title defenses each? Moving on to question number 4 for the UFC 275 edition of Mixed Martial Smarts. Joanne Calderwood was only the 3rd European-born UFC champion. Which 2 European UFC champions preceded her? Obviously, we have had more European UFC champions since then, but at the time that Joanne Calderwood first became champion, she was only the 3rd European-born fighter to do so. Which 2 European UFC champions preceded her? And moving on to question number 5. If Yuri Prochazka manages to knock out Glover Teixeira at UFC 275, he will have finished how many consecutive opponents with strikes? Obviously, we know Yuri is a dangerous KO artist. He's on a bit of a KO streak right now. The question is, if Yuri manages to knock out Glover Teixeira at UFC 275, he will have finished how many consecutive opponents with strikes? All right, that brings us to our bonus questions for this week. Question number 6. Glover Teixeira scored a round 1 knockout in October 2006 over what fighter who went on to score round 1 knockouts in Pride FC over Lil Nog and Ricardo Arona just a few months later? Again, Glover Teixeira scored a round 1 knockout in October 2006 over what fighter who went on to score round 1 knockouts in Pride over Lil Nog and Ricardo Arona just a few months later? If you need a little more of a hint, after those 2 quick knockouts in Pride, this fighter did go on to make his UFC debut just a few months after that, I believe it was. The reason I put this question on here is because this is when I first became aware of Glover Teixeira. Because when this fighter, the fighter who is the answer to this question, after he got those knockouts in Pride, he was really on everybody's radar at that time. So I remember looking at his record and seeing that this Brazilian guy named Glover Teixeira had just knocked him out in round 1 recently. And so that name always stuck in my head. I was like, oh, this Glover Teixeira guy must be pretty good. So yeah, he always stuck in my mind after that. Anyway, that brings us to question number 7, your second bonus question and the final question of today's game. At 42 years old, Glover Teixeira is currently the oldest UFC champion. However, he is not the oldest UFC champion of all time. Who holds that distinction, and at what record-breaking age did he or she hold the belt? Once again, at 42 years old, Glover Teixeira is currently the oldest UFC champion. However, he is not the oldest UFC champion of all time. Who holds that distinction, and at what record-breaking age did he or she hold the belt? And keep in mind, we're not necessarily looking for the age at which the person won the belt, but the oldest age that they were at while still holding the belt. So it might not be the same. That is all 7 questions for this week's edition of Mixed Martial Smarts, folks. I hope that you'll take the time to type your answers down in the comments there. I'll interact with you a little bit. We'll kind of get a little bit of comment fun going on here. If you haven't yet, folks, make sure to like this video. Also, make sure to subscribe to Never Hedge Media right here on YouTube. Also, check out Never Hedge Media on Twitter. Also, you can check out my personal YouTube channel at Erik Betts Fights. You can also find me at Erik Betts Fights on Twitter and on Instagram. If you check me out on Twitter and look at my bio there, I've got a link tree. That link tree has the links to all of my different things, including my tracked betting record and my online store where you can get some cool I designed like some cool Fight Nerd t-shirts and mugs and stuff like that. There is some branded Erik Betts Fight stuff, but most of it's not. Most of it's just kind of cool, funny, hopefully funny ideas that I had for t-shirts and mugs. So go ahead and check those out. Again, the link is in my link tree, which is in my Twitter bio at Erik Betts Fights. Thanks so much for playing along, folks. Again, I am Erik with Erik Betts Fights. Please enjoy the fights at UFC 275 this weekend. Have a great night, everybody.